question that I get asked is, how do you drive? So I thought I would answer that question. So I'm going to introduce you to my 2014 Honda Odyssey. This is Parker. Yes, I named him. And he is an adapted vehicle. I have my key fob right here. And on the key fob is a button that I use to automatically open the ramp. So all I have to do is push, and the ramp will come down. And then I get in up the ramp, and I turn around. So you can see here that we have a different setup than most vehicles. There are two hooks here that you can use to secure the wheelchair, and the reason that they are up on bars and not on the ground like you might usually see them on buses and things like that is because those were specially designed for me so that I can reach them myself. So the other thing that I have is a seat in here which adjusts. So right now it looks like it's in the position that you would normally see a driver's seat in, but I'm going to move myself forward a little bit and lean forward, and then you can actually turn the seat. So you see now it's turned, and then I back up a little bit more and I can move it towards me. So then I turn my chair off, and I bend over and I reach the straps, and these pull out and attach to a hook on my wheelchair. I can now get into my seat. I turn my chair on. Now I can do the transfer the way that it is, but I have the technology from my wheelchair to go up and down. So I use that just to take the strain off of myself when I do the transfer. So once I'm up to the height that matches the chair, I grab on here and I pivot, and now I'm in the driver's seat. So I put my chair down. Anyway, now that I'm sitting in the seat, I can use this little control panel over here. I have to do a little bit of adjusting sometimes so that I can get my leg in, but you'll see I can turn myself all the way around. I straighten myself out a little bit, and then I'm going to pull all the way into the driver's seat. So now I'm in my car, and I'm going to give you the grand tour of the adaptive equipment that I have here. So first you'll see I have a spinner knob. I'll turn it up a little bit so you get a better view. This is pretty standard for people who drive with their hands like I do. I do not use my feet at all. And this is really for safety purposes, because when I'm holding on to the gas and brake, which I'll show you in a little bit, I can't sit there and go like this very safely. So if I want to turn, I can grab onto the spinner knob and turn. That's what happens when you turn the wheel all the way, or I can turn the other way. So that makes it a lot easier for me to drive only using my hands. And then the other cool piece of adapted equipment that I have is what most people think is a microphone, but is actually a turn signal extension handle. So let's say I am in the middle of driving, I need to put on my turn signal, and I don't want to take my hand off the gas and the brake, but I still need to put my turn signal on. I can just quickly pull my hand off the wheel, reach up here, and put the turn signal on, and it works for both directions. And it's just a safety feature for me, because that way I can keep my hand wherever the focus is needed the most in order to stay safely in my lane. On this side of the steering wheel, we have the gas and the brake. This is called a hand control. So I grasp it, and if I want to put the brake on, I push forward at sort of a downward angle, and then if I want to rev the engine or push the gas, then I push down. Now, you might have heard that the engine was revving pretty loudly, and that's actually because this is low effort gas and brake. So you do not need to push hard at all for you to start feeling the effects of putting the gas on or the brake on. And that's because I have somewhat limited strength in my upper body, so it makes it a lot easier for me to put the gas on or the brake on when I can push without as much effort. And the same thing goes for the steering wheel. It is also low effort. So you'll see if you start turning it, most wheels will start correcting themselves backwards. And this does a little bit, but it doesn't resist you. So in case any of my adaptive equipment fails, there's also backup emergency systems, such as for the steering and for the brake. And of course, we can't forget the horn extension. So now I'm going to get out of the car. Here I have the button that I can use to open the ramp in the back, and I'm going to use my controls again to go backwards, all the way back, and then I'm going to turn around. Hello again. And I'm going to basically do everything I did to get in the car, except in reverse. So I'm going to slide over to transfer. Then I'm going to move this back in so that it's not in my way. I'm going to move this, bend over for just a minute. There is a little red lever. Push that down and it loosens the seatbelt. Then I'm good to get out of the car. And that's it. So that's a wrap on the tour of my beloved Parker, my Honda Odyssey. And I hope that answers some questions that you might have about how I get to and from places independently in my adaptive vehicle. Thanks so much for watching.